Welcome back, everybody, to Campus Lore Live, where NBA players talk college hoops. I'm George Niang of the Utah Jazz, and this is Monte Morris of the Denver Nuggets. Monte, I just want to hop right into it. You know, Wake Forest just fired Danny Manning. Obviously, we know Danny Manning from being the legend that he was at Kansas, but often he struggled a little bit at Wake Forest. He was fired, and they hired Steve Forbes from East Tennessee State, coming from where Fred Hoiberg, when we played at Iowa State, left for the Chicago Bulls, and a coach from a mid-major program in Steve Prohm that you got to play for 2 years, I got to play for 1 year, came in and had to try to take over a high-major program and become successful.
He won't have a big adjustment coming to Wake Forest. I feel like they still have, some athletes. It's a conference where he's going to that was, a little better than where he's coming from. So I think just filling in there was biggest thing. I think that Coach Prohm made the adjustment for his first year while he was getting his feet wet with us. He kind of let the seniors, you guys, kind of run stuff and get acclimated with everything before he put his foot down 2-3 years later. So I think his biggest adjustment is going to have to learn the players and don't try to come in and implement too much and change too much, with the players and in the system.
It's almost, I feel like it's easier for Steve Forbes to come in there where, listen, I'm coming in here to implement the ways I know of how to win going forward, and you guys are going to have to listen to me or I'm going to bring in other people. In Coach Prohm's case, he came into a situation where there was talent, there was potential NBA players. So it's almost like I don't want to fix too much because I don't want to mess up what they had going on. Whereas in Steve Forbes' case, nothing was really working for Wake Forest. They haven't really been good since the Jeff Teague, Al-Farouq Aminu days, James Johnson. They haven't really succeeded since then. So this is a good time for, Steve Forbes to come in and really create his own culture, create winning culture. Obviously, in a tough ACC league where you're in North Carolina, you're fighting against Clemson, North Carolina, Duke. A lot of the local talent is already focused on high-level programs. Now, what are you going to do to separate yourself from those programs, especially coming from, a mid to low major program? What would you say Steve Forbes should hang his hat on and what to sell?
If you keep being at the bottom of your conference, obviously you're not really playing together or the group isn't as tight. Our teams was the best because we all got along with each other. We would hang out and things like that, which played a big factor in everything. So I would want him to come in, implement team first, team unity, and buy in a defense and just say, hey, we started over fresh, put y'all trust in me.
It's just a weird feeling, when you came to play for someone and then another person has the job and is telling you what to do. Building culture is something that's hard. And if you don't have players that are bought in, it's even harder.
Teams that win it, teams that surprise people, it's the teams who bought in. You got guys talking to agents. You got guys who thinking they better than who they are, want to leave early, and want to do it their way. They want to show they could get buckets. When they're not really a bucket getter, it's not that good for the team. So I think, like you said, if you buy into the culture and accepting everything in them roles, I feel like the team will grow magnificent, and everybody in the world can say, he changed the program and took it to better heights, and they got a promising future.
I'm sure it's going to happen throughout the summer. Coaches getting let go and other coaches coming in and recruits trying to figure out, should I reopen my recruitment? Should I stay here? Should I do this? What advice would you have for these recruits and or guys that are still staying at the school and debating whether they should transfer or not?
Depending on your year, as far as the previous year you had, because most coaches come in looking at what you did last year, and trying to see where he gonna put this guy, where he gonna put this guy. It's a numbers game. I think when Steve Prohm came to our school, he knew about us, but he knew it ran through me and you. So he knew he was gonna come in and have us try to be the leaders and talk and run his offense around us. So for a guy who didn't really play the year before but was making strides with this coach, and now you bring in a whole new coach, you got to look on how this new coach is trying to implement you into his game plan.
I think the biggest thing for us is, we were in a different situation. Steve Prohm came in, but all of us had a connection to Iowa State. and all of us loved being there and loved what it had to offer. It didn't care if, my grandmother who was shopping at the grocery store was going to coach us every game day. We were going to find ways to win because that's the type of people that we were. Granted, Coach Prohm came in and did a good job of implementing his way, and still is trying to build culture, because that's the biggest thing is when you're an incoming coach, you have to find a way to leave your imprint on the program, whether that's with culture or different ways of doing things. And winning is absolutely one, because that's what keeps the lights on. You have to find different ways to do those things, and if you don't have guys that are bought into you and or the school, it makes things a lot tougher.
When Coach Prohm came in, everybody knew he wasn't going to be Hoiberg, but he had to find his own identity and adapt to the fans, that loved Hoiberg. It was a tough situation, but he found his way. We was able to win games.
That's the biggest thing. If you're a new coach coming in, you obviously want them to like you, but you need to have them bought into the school, because above all else, you need to have them playing for a bigger purpose other than you. Who has your favorite player been in college basketball, and who would you say you mirrored your game after?
I'm gonna have to go with Adam Morrison. I know me and him don't have like similarities in games,
Oh,
but
you guys look
my,
alike.
my
Or you guys look identical.
yeah. Growing up, my mom was on this Gonzaga wave for a very long time. She honestly wanted me to go to Gonzaga, but they never showed interest. But she was a Gonzaga fan, and I would always watch Adam Morrison because she would always love his game and how he would score the ball and get buckets. So I say him because it was always forced upon me to watch him. But a guy that I tried to mirror my game after was Chauncey Billups. He was more of a guy, not a down shooter. He got his guys involved. Wasn't too flashy, wasn't too fast, like myself. So I just tried to mirror my game like him. And just like Chauncey, he always been a winner no matter where he went. When he was in Denver playing basketball in high school, he won 2 state championships, got to college, won, and got a chance to, get drafted where he did in the first round. So I always mirrored my game after Chauncey. And then when he got to the league, his Detroit run was amazing because, I'm a Michigan guy. So I seen a lot of it beating that Kobe and Shaq team. So yeah, Chauncey's always been a guy that I've been learning from before I hadn't known him, but now I know him, so I'm still learning from him and got that connection. So.
God, he was a monster, and he really controlled pace, and he could really score. I had a couple guys. I mean, I know on a couple episodes before, I talked about Carmelo Anthony, and I was always just so impressed with how he was a freshman and just never missed. Like, it seemed like every shot he took was going in, and he was just a force. He finished at the rim. He could make threes. He did a great job in the mid-range, mid-post. But then I thought to myself, okay, George, like, you're not that type of player. I mean, you can like him, you can like his game and be a huge fan of his game, which I am. I think Carmelo Anthony is an extremely talented player from when he was in college to even now. But I always looked up to Kevin Love. I was always a chunkier, bigger guy. Always wanted to have that perimeter game to shoot. And Kevin Love at UCLA was putting up ridiculous numbers. Like, I don't think I've ever had a 20 rebound game in my career, but Kevin Love just seems to fall into 20 rebounds. And then when he first got in the NBA, he was falling into 20 rebound games there. So I just always tried to implement what he could do into my game. Wide body, did a great job of using his body to score, not always finishing above the rim, but, he was always efficient and always took and made great shots. He could pass the ball, but more or less that outlet pass. And you know how important that is as a point guard, having a big that you can trust to get the rebound and then get the fast break started. I was always a huge fan of Kevin Love and everything that he embodied, not only as a person, but more importantly, as a player, and to be honest with you, a scorer. I like to shoot threes. I like to score a ton of points when I can, and that's why Kevin Love is one of my favorites. Now, what part of Chauncey Billups' game did you try to implement? Was it, the toughness, the grit, or was it, the leadership, or was it his ability to score the ball when his team needed him?
It was the leadership, and also the pick and roll game. I think one thing Chauncey did, he got that pick and roll game down to perfection, and I think that's why I was able to get recognition from college and also play the pick and pop game in the NBA so well like I do now because I watch a lot of film on him. He's a guy who's not coming off at the same pace. He's a guy who's keeping him on his hip, looking around, throwing it back to his big. Like you said, you like to shoot the ball. So the catch and shoots, playing with the four-man has been good, and that's why I tried to implement it from Chauncey.
The NBA announced that it's postponing the NBA Combine, which is supposed to be May 21st to the 24th in Chicago. Both of us, have been to the Combine, played 5-on-5 in the Combine. What are your thoughts about this? And maybe reflect a little bit on your experience at the NBA Combine and how it helped you, or maybe it hurt you, and maybe how this is going to help or hurt some guys going forward.
The NBA Combine is an outlet for guys to showcase their game, especially guys who kind of under the radar, guys who really didn't have a lot of buzz coming out of college. I think the Combine was made for guys like that. For example, a good friend of mine, Kyle Kuzma, he wasn't big on the radar my combine year. He shot 29% coming out of college. The knock on him, he was soft. He got to the combine, go 6 for 6, finished with like 21 points, hit a crazy roll hook from like 18, and now he's shot up to the first round when he was going undrafted on a lot of mock drafts. So I think the combine is made for guys to bust through and for guys to hurt themselves who was supposed to be higher. That's why you don't see a lot of guys playing and participating in it.
It is meant to show off what you can do. And there are guys who are in there that are hungry, who felt like they didn't get the opportunity to show what they could really do in college. And then there's guys that are like, hey, well, you guys know what I can do in college. I'm just going to take this as another day of playing basketball. And those are the guys that hurt themselves. It should, honestly, you shouldn't even be playing if that's what you think. But those guys get out there and they think it's going to be a cakewalk. But then you have someone who's out there hungry and fighting for a job, and they take your lunch money. And that's what happens. This is a job interview, and I'm going to show you why I'm better than you, because there's money on the table. And this is everything that everybody at the Combine has ever dreamed of, to be successful. Like we talked about, guys that we looked up to be those players or to be better than them. And you can't take that opportunity for granted. I think another thing that people don't understand at the NBA Combine is it's basically not only an audition on the court, but off the court. You all stay at the same hotel. The NBA has hired people to be around the hotel to see who's having who come in, who's hanging out with each other. And then there's the interview process, Monte. You know how it is. They have 2 floors full of teams, where they want to get to know you as a person. They want to know, if you're coming to an interview, are you wearing sweats or are you wearing a suit? Are you wearing a collared shirt? How is your appearance, walking around? And that's a part that people don't get to see, because not only is this an investment, for the NBA team, they want to win games, but they want you to be the right person in their community.
I see guys at the combine talking crazy on the bus coming back from the gym about what they did in college, smoking, drinking. I'm looking at them like, bro, don't you know it's people on this bus who, who know you? And it's just funny that the same guys that I've seen doing that at my combine year, none of them is in the NBA like today. And it's just like sometimes those guys, not player wise, but the workers there, they have been coaches, they have been post players, things like that. So they hear little things like that. They've been around the game for a long time. They know how to play it off and know who's saying what, but not even looking at them. You don't think they going back telling these teams, oh, such and such was on the bus, being unprofessional, talking about how he had all these girls last night, things like that. I think it's an elimination game. You know, it's only 60 picks, but you got so many players in one draft, so they want guys to eliminate themselves by little things like that.
Teams that want to interview you literally have done so much homework on you. I remember during the draft process, I had elementary school teachers reaching out to me, being like, "Hey, we had just gotten a call from such and such of an NBA organization." And then when you get in that room, I was honestly so thankful that I had a clean slate and didn't get into too much trouble that anybody knows about during my younger days, because these guys find out everything. Because at the end of the day, this is a job just like anybody else. They're trying to figure out, do I want to invest money and time into someone that not only is going to benefit my team and basketball wise, but my organization and how people view us in the community. And sometimes that hurts guys more than they think. They think, oh, I can get away with this because my talent is X, Y, and Z, or I'm so good that I can do whatever I want and it's never going to catch up to me. Well, newsflash, when you get to the NBA, everyone's just as athletic, just as talented as you. And what separates a lot of people and why some guys have had 1-year careers or 5-year careers or 15-year careers is because of the type of person they are and people liking them. At the end of the day, when someone's hiring a person for a job and it's neck and neck with talent, they're going to want to hire someone, one, that is a solid human, and two, a person that they actually want to be around. You know, guys in the NBA stick on for 2-3 years at the end of the bench making $3-4 million just simply because they're good people.
A lot of people back home that really don't know the whole organization of the NBA don't see the behind the scenes. They just see people's stats. You can look up somebody's stats and people will be like, oh, he sucks, why he don't play? But this guy on time, this guy is helping his young vet. This guy is, you know, helping with the scout reports. He's standing up, making sure the team stay together. Like, it's a lot of people who get caught up in the NBA, guys making money now, that they forget how to be a good teammate, how to be a good person.
One specific guy that stands out to me is Udonis Haslem. I mean, for the last 2-3 years, he's been that guy at the end of the bench. You know, he may not be in the rotation. He may not play at all. He may not play at all for 20, 25 games. But that guy is in shape. You know, he's the leader and a voice, you know, of the locker room, and has been doing this through plenty of championship teams in that era down in Miami. And I think it speaks volumes to his character and how intelligent he is to know that, you know, if I build these relationships, I can be here for a long time and do what I love by staying in shape, you know, treating people right, and being a good person. It just goes so far. And for someone to ruin that and say, you know what, I don't want to be a good person, so I'm going to give up 3-4 years on the back half when I'm done playing or not being able to play, which is close to $10 million, you know, when you've played in the NBA a long time. That's just silly to me. And guys need to know, you may get a job over another guy and actually create a career just by being a good person. Maybe you just want to touch in one of your most surprising things at the combine. Mine definitely was, you know, when they sent us to get physicals and tests, that we had to be there all day, that every team wanted a physical. Every team wanted some wanted MRIs on previous injury. Every team wanted an x-ray. Every team wanted your body fat, your body weight.
The treadmill test, the cardiac test was a bit extreme. Looking back on it, I remember guys, not gonna name drop them, but they like, well, we just got to get to 10 minutes, and they would just fall off and not do it. But you know, it was guys like, it's funny, when I got drafted by Denver, they was like, yeah, another thing that stuck out to us, you know, you finished the cardiac test, and I'm like, damn, I didn't even think no team would even like look at that, you know, side, because it's really just to get a picture of your heart and see how your heart pump. But he was like, you was one of those guys who completed it. And I was like, man, it's a little thing.
I can't say the same. I definitely did not finish. I might have lasted 15 minutes. You know we got to move on to our favorite segment, man. the player breakdown. I know who I got. Who you got this week?
I'm gonna go down to Arizona. Nico Mannion, 6'3", about 190. He shoot the ball. He shot 39% from the field, but he showed flashes. Averaging 13 points a game, about 4 assists. One thing I like about him, he heartless. You watch him play, he'll go try to dunk on the biggest guy on the court, and I think that's gonna be his way of getting into the league, knocking down that shot, but getting downhill, he's athletic and he can finish over taller guys.
I got to see some glimpses of him, especially earlier in the year, and I was pretty impressed with his ability to play in transition. That is definitely going to translate, in the NBA. But constantly, I always tell you, Monte, it's not only about you as a point guard. When you come into this league as a point guard, you're going to have to find ways to get other guys involved. When you're shooting that percentage, I'm thinking in my mind, he shoots 39% from the field. All right, what type of shots are you taking? Are you thinking, can I get this later in the shot clock? And, should I get my teammates involved? Those are some thoughts that I have. I love the kid. I think he has tremendous upside. He's extremely athletic. He has a good-looking shot. He has that foreign, crafty game, being that he's from Italy. He can find different ways to score, and make passes. But that's going to be another thing that, I am not a little concerned about, but just, have an eye towards. He averaged, 5.3 assists at his 1 year at Arizona, but he also turned the ball over, almost 3 times a game, which how that is in the NBA. There's only so many times that coaches are going to deal with your turnovers and, making the right play. Obviously, you want to have longevity in this league and play at a high level, and I think he's more than capable of that. Moving on, my choice for this week is Vernon Carey Jr., at Duke. He's 6'10", big lefty, 270 pounds. He just was a force this year at Duke, averaging 17 points, shooting 57% from the field, and picking up 9 rebounds a game. When you have a guy that's versatile like that, not to mention, he shot 38% from 3. It really gets you excited. I know sometimes, people question different things with guys being too heavy, with Zion being there before and, weight loss and, injury with carrying all that weight. This guy seems to be the total package. He seems quick, he's really athletic and really does a lot of different things. Actually, it was great for them when they wanted to play small ball because like we've talked about before in previous episodes, when you have to have a bigger 5-man come out and guard a faster, 4/5, he was extremely effective. With guys now like you guys play in Denver, with delay action, with playing through the pass with your center, he's going to have to work on his playmaking ability. But overall, I'm a huge fan of Vernon Carey Jr.
I think he's going to be a great guy in the NBA, especially the way, like I'm big on coaches. I'm sure Coach K developed them with the 1 year like he did Zion and RJ, and you've seen they grow and they impact right as soon as they step on the NBA floor. I think Coach K just teaches you how to play the game the right way. And with that talent he got, I'm sure he's gotten better over the time, he's been there. But being able to shoot that tray ball at that size is really tough, especially when you're surrounded by shooters already. And with his rebounding ability is big. So I look forward to seeing him out there, just like every episode. We keep it real on players, and we can't wait to see him out there. And hopefully this podcast is going to look back on it and say, man, we were right about him. So good luck to him. Good luck to Nico, and we'll see him out there soon.
That's for sure. And there you have it, Monte. Campus Laurel Live. I'm George Niang. This is Monte Morris, where NBA players talk college hoops. We'll see you guys next week.